Hi everyone, I'm Megan here from Modern Genealogy, and I'm so excited that you have joined this 5-day challenge to get started with FamilySearch. Today we are going to start day 1, and we are going to talk about logging in to FamilySearch and getting your tree all set up. So let's get started. Okay, so first we need to get you an account on FamilySearch. So to do that, you need to go to familysearch.org and either sign in if you already have an account or create an account. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So you just come here and put in your name and your birth date. This isn't actually my birth date, but we'll pretend I'm a little younger. And if you are a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you can check this box, and then it will take you and you'll need to add your membership number into there. You can find that on your Temple Recommend, from your ward clerk, or from even LDS Tools has it on there. I'm going to uncheck that for this video, but we would just say continue, and then you'll need to put in an email address, create a password, have a recovery option if you forget your password, which we always seem to do. So you put a recovery email in there for that. Select your location, what country you're from. And if you want to receive messages from FamilySearch, that's great for updates or information. If they find people in records in your tree, sometimes they'll send a little record hints by email for that. So that's great to check. And also you need to agree to the terms of use, and you can read those there. And then you just create an account. They send you an email, and then you have to verify your account there. So now after I've logged in, I come to this page. Now if you created a new account, it will look similar to this. If you already have a FamilySearch account, it's going to look different. But FamilySearch already comes up with some ideas of how to get started. It has add your father, getting started with family history, how to do indexing. So there's lots of information there to get started. But I'm just going to show you how to start building your family tree. So when you go to Family Tree, click on there and click on Tree. Now this will bring you to the landscape version of your family tree. Now you can zoom in with this plus and minus over here, and we're going to start building our tree. So already I see a bit of an issue. There's this red exclamation mark because I did not put in the standardized birth date. So to edit that, we just need to click on our name, and then we need to click on our profile. Now when you add in a date, you need to add first the day. Let's just start over here. First the day, then the month, and then the year. And FamilySearch will create this drop down where you click on the right date. And that's just so that they can better scan through the information in the family tree to find records that may attach to that person. Also with your birthplace, you want to put the city, and if you know the county, you can put that in, and then the province or state and the country. But it will start pulling that up. So you can see that it says Calgary, Alberta, Canada, major city. Then it says when that was a city. So that can be helpful if locations change, maybe borders change or whatever. So just pay attention to that. Also, we don't want the cemetery, so be sure that you're looking at what that actually is. So then you want to click on that. Reason it's correct, you could put because that's my birth date or whatever you want. It's just a way to prove. Okay, now that exclamation mark's gone. So now let's go back to our tree, and we can start adding our family. So this is for people who are creating a new account, obviously, but the same method exists for if you find end of the line ancestors where you add more, or spouses or children for people. Okay, so it's the same concept for any relationship that you add into the family tree. Now I am a living person, obviously, and my spouse is still living. So when I add a living person in family tree, only I can see those people. So that's so other people can't see birth dates or information like that. So I'm going to add my spouse in here. I'll just show you how to do that quickly. Let's pretend. Okay, now he's still living. We can add his birth date in there the same way. I'm not going to add that in just because of time. Now it's going to scan the tree and see if any people match the information that I put in there. Obviously, John Smith is not a great example for that. So now I want to add my parents. Okay, so I just add my dad in there. Okay, now I'm just doing this quickly just to get my tree built so you can see, but you would add in, if you want to add in birth information or whatever. He's still living, so it's not going to affect the family tree at all. Actually, I'm trying to come up with fake names for my parents, but this is hard to come up with on the spot. Okay, she's still living also. You could put their birthdays and whatever in there also. I'm just trying to build my tree here quick. Okay, so now we can get back to my grandparents. Now, if you don't know your grandparents, you need to ask your parents and try to find some information about that. You want to have at least a date and location where they lived so that you can verify that, that they're the correct people. A little explanation of the family tree and FamilySearch. Now, a lot of genealogists don't really like it, and that's because it is a collaborative tree. So that means that anybody can change it. Anybody can change relationships. Anybody can delete relationships. And so you can see that that can cause some problems with people that might not really know what they're doing. But I actually love FamilySearch, and I love the family tree because people all over the world can work on the same ancestors at the same time, and they can have access to information from their cousins all over the world. So I think it's fabulous. You just have to be careful changing relationships and merging people and all of that, but we're going to show you how to do that, so don't worry. So we're first going to add my grandpa. Okay, so put in as much information as you know to find them in there. I don't actually remember his birth date, but we are going to, he died in 1992. I know that. I know where he died. So let's just see if that's enough information to pull him up. So because he's deceased, ideally, there's going to be only one of him in the entire family tree. Now, realistically, there's multiple people of some ancestors. It gets worse the farther back you go. So here, it's scan the family tree, and there's a possible match found. And I can look at this. I see that, yes, that's when he died. That's my grandma. Okay, so you can add this match there. Now, the best way to do this is to add them as a couple. Then you don't have to do it separately. So it can add my grandpa and my grandma together. Okay. Obviously, if you didn't have a grandpa and a grandma that were married together, you could add your grandpa separately. Okay. So now it has my grandparents there. Under children, it lists his children. And I'm going to have to delete this after because it's going to mess up my tree. My dad. Well, actually, because he's living, no one can see it. Just kidding. It's fine. Okay, so now we have my grandparents there. Now you can do the same thing with the other side. And now that we look at this arrow here, it's going to have built the tree, all that's in family tree. Once you link to the deceased person in family tree, all of the ancestors that are linked to him already will be in there. Isn't that fabulous? So as long as your grandparents are already in there, you might be able to find lots of information about your ancestors. If they're not in there, that's totally fine. You can start finding records for them and then linking the generations further and further back. All right, another way to add people into the family tree is by their ID numbers. So you see these numbers right here under each person are their specific ID number for that person. So the living ones, they're all going to be different because only you can see the living people that you add. But for the deceased, there's only one ID number for that deceased person. So maybe you don't know all the information about your grandparents, but maybe your sister or your parents have already added their information in family tree. So if you can get this ID number from them, when you say add father here, you can add it by their ID number. So then you can just put the ID number in there and hit next, and then it will add it just with that ID number there. Okay. The other information here that I want to show you is having to do with people that maybe don't fit the mold of this family here. Okay, not all families are just a mother and a father and their children. We know that parents die, they remarry, some are divorced, and there's adoptive relationships and all of that. So how do we work that into the family tree? Well, luckily FamilySearch has made that quite easy to do. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So in this family, I'm going to click on my grandpa here, and it will take you to his profile. So everybody in FamilySearch has this profile here. If you scroll down, it shows you him and his wife and their children. Then it shows his parents and all his siblings listed there. Now, say this child here was actually adopted. Okay, now if you don't have to put that in the family tree. If you feel like they are a family unit and it's all good like that, you can just leave it. But if you want to change his parents as adoptive parents, you can do that. So you just click on this little edit box here beside the name. And when you click on that, this little box shows up here. And under each relationship, you can change the relationship type. So here's his father. Now, if you click on that to add relationship type, you can change the relationship. So either to an adoptive father, biological, foster, guardianship, or stepfather. So that's just a good way to add all these different relationships that we all know exist in families. It's ideal to have the date of the adoption if you can enter that in there. Again, you put the date in there. The same format as all the dates in FamilySearch, and click on the standard. Okay, then you hit save. And now under his name over here, you can see in 1970 he was adopted by this father. Okay, you can also change that for the mother there and any types of relationships. All right, so now it shows that he's adopted there. Now, maybe we want to put in his biological parents now. So if you have that information, you can add multiple sets of parents to people. So here we have pulled up my imaginary father, and we are going to add some more parents to him. Okay, so here on the right, we're going to hit Add Parent. And we can just put in some information in here. Okay, we're going to pretend he's living just because I don't want to mess up the tree and do too much stuff. So we're going to say he's living and add him there. So we're creating this new father. Now, obviously, if he's deceased, you want to do it the same way that you did before, where you put in as much information you can, or the ID number, and it will scan the tree and see if he's already in there. Okay? So now we have this other father here. Now you can also add a spouse. Maybe these parents died and they put their child up for their child ended up in an orphanage or whatever. We don't know. Or maybe it's just the biological father. And you can decide how you want to represent those relationships in your tree. There's no requirement to have biological parents in there if that's not how they were raised or how the family treated that person. Like, it's not like it's required to have that in there. You can have your family tree set up however you would like. Okay. So we're just going to add these other parents in here just to show you that you can have multiple parents. Okay. So now he has two sets of parents. So how does that show in the family tree? Well, you gotta have some information in there. So as you can see, there's this check here for preferred. So who are your preferred parents that you have? Now that you can change it, anybody can change the preferred for their tree. This doesn't change it for everyone. Okay, so for me, my preferred are having him with his adoptive parents. So now when you go back to the tree, I'm just going to show you how to change that. So now there's this little arrow here on his parents. So if you click on that, you can change the parents. So you can't show them at the same time, but you can change it pretty easily. And then if they attach to another ancestral line, it would show there. Okay, so now the last thing I'm going to show you for today is a tour of the profile page. So every person in your family tree has a profile page, and you can get it by either clicking on this person icon there or just clicking on their name. And that takes you to this profile page. The information that's in here will depend on what's been added, obviously. But the details, if there's a life sketch, a little story, you can put it in there. Has their vitals. That would be their birth information, their death information, burial. If they were christened, that would be here as well. And then some other information if they resided anywhere, or just any other information that people can add in there. You can add information here, and there's some things that show up there, immigration, but I mean, you don't have to add these, just you can. Or an alternate name is sometimes helpful as well. And then you scroll down here and you have family members. So it's him and his wife and their children. If you need to add a child, you just click that and you do the same type of thing that we've done for all of the relationships. Put in their names, if they're living or deceased, dates, and then FamilySearch will scan and see if they're already in there. Okay, you can also do it by ID number again, which is a great way to do it if you can. Then there's his parents and all of his siblings. Again, you can add a child if you find another sibling or whatever. Okay, then back to the top of the profile page, we have a timeline. Now this just shows all of the dates in his life, and it just lists it all out, which is really helpful to kind of have an overview of the information in his lifetime, as when his children were born and all of that. Sources. Now these are records that people have found to verify dates or relationships. And you can have a look through those if you'd like. When you click View Source, it has the information in there and who added the information, which is helpful. Collaborate is a great way to add notes. Maybe there's other family members that are working on someone. Maybe there's some tricky information and you want to add a note that kind of explains some of your findings or things in there. Lots of times people will put that if there's something really complicated, a complex relationship, or maybe even a note about someone being adopted, maybe some information in there to clarify that so other people are aware and don't change it incorrectly. Memories, I'll just go over this really quickly. You can add photos of your ancestors, some documents, those need to be in a PDF form, and stories, you can type those right into here. And audio, you can upload audio or select that from there. So let's go back to his profile, and from here you can also view his tree. If you want to view the tree with him as the starting person, you can click watch, and that will make it so that you are aware of any changes that are made to this person. View your relationship, it just shows how you're related to them. So that can be helpful when you get further back. Okay, so there is actually one more thing that I want to show you how to do. This is how to change relationships. Quite often there's mistakes, maybe not so early on in the tree, but later on in the tree, incorrect relationships can get added. So I'm going to show you how to change that. So I'm going to click on this profile here, this Brian Hillier, and we're going to look at his parents. So maybe later on I found out that he actually wasn't adopted. These weren't his biological parents, and I need to change that. Okay, so we click on this little edit thing there, and here's his father that's listed, and we want to remove or replace that father. So we found out that that's not right. So the best way to change that is to get the ID number of the correct father and put that in there. Now, you would do that, so they want you to make sure you've reviewed everything, because this can mess stuff up if you start changing things that aren't actually right. So it's good to have some sort of documentation to prove that what you're changing it to is right. So you've read that, you've reviewed the relationships and the sources and the notes, and you're going to remove this father because you found out that he's actually not. So you would, not biological. Oh my gosh, I can't. Biological father. Okay, so then you would remove that father. So now when you look at it, that father's not there anymore. Okay, same thing with the mother. So remove or replace. Yes, we've checked it. If you want to replace the person, it would bring you here and you would just put in the correct information for the correct mother. You can do that again by ID number. It's a great way to do it just because it's really easy to put the wrong person in there and then create a new person that really didn't need to be created. So doing it by ID number is great if you know that they're already in the family tree. So I'm just going to cancel that. Okay, so that's the same thing for children. If you find out that there's an incorrect child in a family tree, you would just click on this same thing. You would say remove or replace. If they're not a correct child, you can remove them and they'll just be in family tree. They won't be linked into anyone, but their information will still be in there. If I wanted to, I could remove that person by the same little edit box. You click on that, say that yes, you've reviewed everything, and you're going to remove the parents. If you find out that who her parents actually are, you could replace the parents with the right ones. So I'm going to remove the parents, and you would put a reason for the change. Maybe you find a birth record or something that shows that they're not actually the parents, or a death record, and then you would say remove. All right, so there's all the information for day 1. Your assignment for today is to create an account on FamilySearch. If you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ, you might already have a church login, so you can actually use that there. If you have not created a login, make sure you use your membership number when you do create an account. Second, just start building your family tree. Put in information, see if your grandparents or great-grandparents are in the family tree already. If they are, make sure you link up to them. If they're not, just put in what information you have and just make sure you only put information in there that you know is correct. So that's it for day 1. I'll see you tomorrow.